Si comes tienes que lavar tu plato, Firulais. Anda, enjuágalo bien. No me gruñas. A ver, con la esponja eso. Y enjuaga bien que luego deja todo jabonoso. Eso así, muy bien, aunque de malas.
Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. One last look at Tiah-Mai Ayton's upcoming fight tomorrow afternoon opposite the ring. Seasoned veteran Stevie Levy, scheduled for 8 rounds in the women's featherweight division. It would appear that Tiah-Mai Ayton will be moving up in weight for this fight. Up until recently, she had been campaigning as a super bantamweight, where Ellie Scottney currently reigns as that division's undisputed champion. Beyond this fight, will Tiah-Mai Ayton be taking up permanent residency in the featherweight division, or will she move back down once the titles become available to fight for?
Tiah-Mai Ayton sports an unblemished record of 5 wins with no losses and no draws, 4 recorded knockouts.
To Stevie Levy, the more experienced fighter of the two, sports a professional record of 15 wins with 4 losses and no draws, 2 recorded knockouts, having never been knocked out in 19 professional bouts. Currently on a 2-fight winning streak after having dropped a decision to Ellie Hallowell in May of last year. She fought again in September and again in November, racking up 2 victories on the bounce.
She used to be sort of a regular on Matchroom undercards, on Matchroom shows during the big women's boxing boom of the last decade or so, and now she's back.
And now she's fighting their latest unbeaten up-and-comer, Tiah-Mai Ayton. Stevie Levy may have her beat in terms of experience and rounds in the bank, but not in terms of talent, and certainly not in terms of power. Tiah-Mai Ayton was last in action in February of this year after having debuted as a professional in the previous one, racking up 4 wins in her first year as a professional and 1 more at the beginning of this one. Now, she not only means to beat Stevie Levy, but she wants to stop her because her previous fight ended in a decision. Reflecting on going the distance in her last fight, now moving up in weight to feather, and fighting Stevie Levy, Tia said, "They didn't give me any credit for beating her."
For decisioning Catherine Ramos, winning by way of a points decision instead of by way of knockout, which is what she prefers.
Tiah-Mai Ayton fancies herself a bit of a showstopper, and she doesn't feel she's really won unless she's put her opponent down, unless she's put her opponent out. It's a high bar.
It's a hard standard to keep because most of the time women's boxing matches don't end in a knockout. Tiah-Mai Ayton is a very hard puncher, but I consider it a sign of immaturity that she's always going in there looking for the knockout. She's got the power to do it, though it's better to not chase it. It's better to just let it happen organically as a result of your accuracy, your speed, and as a result of your setups, your boxing. It's better not to chase it because when you go looking for the knockout, you run the risk of being knocked out. And even if Stevie Levy is not the one to do it,
at some point somebody else might. The way it works, stepping into your punches and committing to them when looking for the knockout, that forward momentum to where if you're caught on the way in, that forward momentum adds to the damage. It actually adds to the opponent's punch while you're opening up, looking for the knockout.
Between 122 and 126, there are enough talented fighters that could prove a handful for young Tiah-Mai Ayton, who's only 5-0 at this time, very talented and very strong.
She probably is going to stop Stevie Levy tomorrow afternoon. She'll probably be the first to do it. Stevie Levy is best described as an area-level fighter, solid and experienced at area level, but there are a lot of holes in the guard, holes in her defense. She's not fundamentally sound. She's going to be there for the punches, for the power.
She's going to get hurt. If Tiah-Mai Ayton doesn't knock her out cold, she could force a corner stoppage as a result of Stevie taking too many clean shots.
I could see that. I could definitely see Tiah-Mai Ayton being the very first to knock out Stevie Levy, and that's what I'm going with. I'm going with Tiah-Mai Ayton by way of knockout.
Now, does she take up permanent residency in the featherweight division? Why is she moving up? Why is she there? She is a very young fighter, after all, whose body is still growing, so it's possible that she stays at feather. There are areas of opportunity set to open very soon in the both of those divisions. At super bantamweight, where Ellie Scottney currently reigns as undisputed champion, she's about to move up. When she does, and she drops all of those alphabet titles, Tiah-Mai Ayton can easily pick one of them up.
At 122, at 126, Amanda Serrano currently reigns as a unified champion there, but we also know that Amanda's on the verge of retiring. When she does, those two titles could go vacant in the not-so-distant future. And what about Nina Menka, the IBF champion, who's once again out of commission due to a back injury?
What if she retires as a result of that injury? Or what if the IBF strips her? That would theoretically create an area of opportunity for Tiah. So there's definitely a lot going on between 122 and 126, and Tiah really is one of the brightest young stars anywhere at or around those weights.
She could easily become a world champion in either, in the not-so-distant future. For now, I expect her to win tomorrow, and I expect her to win in knockout fashion.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, Eddie Hearn said this about the Mayweather vs. Pacquiao rematch, saying, "No, not now. Netflix are only going to do so many fights, and the word is that they're doing Ben vs. Garcia now on September 12th, or whenever that is going to be. So that's obviously the fight that is replacing Mayweather vs. Pacquiao."
We know that there's been some sort of hang-up over what kind of fight this is supposed to be. Team Pacquiao saying that it's supposed to be a real fight that counts towards their real records, whereas Floyd is insistent it's an exhibition. People that follow this sport closely will have grown accustomed to this sort of a back and forth between two feuding teams, whereas Netflix is a little less concerned with the bickering and more concerned with getting the show on the road, whether it's this one or another.
What the two teams don't seem to understand is you don't actually have Netflix's time to waste. You guys boxing on that platform is a privilege. So that if you can't get it together fast enough to get this fight over the line and get paid, tough titty.
There's plenty more where that came from, that they don't need to waste any more time on two badly aged fighters past their prime. They can replace them with someone else. Now, former Showtime Sports president Stefan Espinoza says that he is confident this will get worked out. Stefan Espinoza expects Mayweather vs. Pacquiao rematch drama to resolve itself.
Oh, that token optimism from Stefan Espinoza.
Yeah, I remember when those rumors about Showtime giving them the boot were swirling. He was optimistic then. I guess he remains optimistic now. Former Showtime Sports executive Stefan Espinoza catches up with Fight Hub TV to discuss a number of topics, and most notably, touches on his thoughts on Floyd Mayweather's lawsuit against Showtime. Obviously, Espinoza was the man in charge of that side of the network during the relevant time period, and while he couldn't go into too much detail due to the ongoing litigation, he did have some things to say before explaining that he expects Floyd's rematch with Manny to eventually get worked out.
On being sued by Floyd Mayweather.
I can't say too much about it because the lawyers have asked me not to, but obviously Floyd is looking for $340 million, which he supposedly discovered 10 years later is missing. I think you can tell by my skeptical tone what my thoughts are on that. And look, all I can say is I'm confident in the legal process. I'm confident in what the facts are going to show, and I look forward to this playing out in court so everybody can see what is true and exactly where the money went. Because if you look at how my career is played out, I have spent my career going back to represent both Mike Tyson, Oscar De La Hoya. I've spent my career making sure fighters are treated fairly and have got compensated fairly, and I've never done anything but that. And I think the administration I ran at Showtime was one that was very fighter-friendly, and I stand by that, and my reputation will continue to be that regardless of this lawsuit.
Stefan's not the one who stole Floyd Mayweather's money, though if he's not, why is Floyd going after him and Showtime?
The lawsuit actually names Al Heyman as the mastermind who put the scheme together that costed him an estimated $340 million. So why is he not going after Al? Most speculate that it's because Floyd Mayweather can't. It's because whatever arrangement Floyd had with Al, it stipulates he can't go after him in a court of law. That's what some people think.
He can't sue him.
And looking at it from yet another angle, even if Al Heyman stole all your money, that money's likely gone by now to where going after him, you won't get it back. I mean, what do you think? He's got it stuffed under his mattress?
It's gone. It's in the wind.
Suing him for it would be a pointless endeavor, but what you can do is sue his co-conspirators, Showtime, allegedly, because if they're the ones who helped him facilitate the theft, you can perhaps get the money from them. They are a major network, after all, so they might have the $340 million to kick out. Not that I expect Floyd Mayweather to get it, because I don't. The lawsuit, at the very most, seems like a patchwork, attempting to assign blame.
We all know who's really responsible, but by now we also know that Floyd Mayweather is nowhere near the businessman that he made himself out to be. And if Al Haymon was able to, over a long period of time, siphon money from you, it's because you left yourself open.
Well, it's because you trusted him and you empowered him to do so. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to. It's not customary for a manager or an advisor to have access to their clients' money.
If he had access to yours, it's because you gave it to him. Making whatever happens after that your fucking fault.
You did it to yourself, Floyd.
So Stephen Espinoza ain't the one that stole Floyd Mayweather's money, in my opinion, but what Floyd wants him to do is be his patsy, be the fall guy.
He wants Stephen to be the one to take the heat for all of this because at that time, he was Showtime Sports president. And what Floyd wants is for Showtime to be on the hook, for Showtime to be culpable because maybe they can be the ones that pay him.
But they won't.
Now, on the subject of whether or not he thinks MAYPAC II is going to happen, Stephen said, I know it's a bit messy right now, and there's some things that have yet to be worked out, but look, both fighters seem to want it. We've got some time. It's not as if this is something coming up in a week or a week before the fight, so I think with time, this will get worked out, and I do expect that fight to happen, but does it happen in a timely fashion? Does it happen in September, like they originally planned?
If it doesn't, does Netflix even give a damn after that? Would they still care when they can always swap that fight out with something else? Something that comes together easier, because for any fighter in the sport of boxing, boxing on that platform is a privilege.
Privilege that Floyd Mayweather could sorely use right now since he's in the hole with so many people, the IRS included, as they've alerted Floyd Mayweather about his passport revocation, jeopardizing exhibitions abroad.
They've grounded him.
The IRS informed Mayweather of its intention to notify the Department of State in late March, nearly a month before the boxing legend officially announced the exhibition with Greek kickboxer Mike Zambides on April 23rd. The IRS explained to Mayweather that the passport action is related to an unresolved, seriously delinquent tax debt.
Why is this guy always fucking around with the tax man? You don't fuck with the IRS.
Well, think about who would have been handling his money at that time. His trusted advisor, Al Haymon. Could it be that while Floyd Mayweather thought Al Haymon was sorting affairs, he was really fucking off his money and not paying his taxes? This isn't the first time this would have happened to Floyd. He already owed the IRS something to the tune of $23 million in back taxes in a previous instance. Now he owes them about $7.3. This comes against the backdrop of a back-and-forth negotiation between Mayweather and his rival, Manny Pacquiao, for a planned September 19th rematch at the Sphere in Las Vegas.
You mean originally planned at the Sphere, because the latest indicates they've moved off of the Sphere and they're moving the fight somewhere else, if it even happens.
Netflix announced the event on February 23rd as a professional fight that would count towards their records, a return bout more than 11 years after their historic first fight in May of 2015. On March 28th, Mayweather claimed it was an exhibition rather than a professional fight and said the venue was undecided. The ring, however, reviewed documents signed by Mayweather that state it's a professional fight rather than an exhibition that would take place at the Sphere.
Well, that vindicates Manny Pacquiao's side, since they're the ones saying it was always supposed to be a real fight.
On the April 13th episode of Inside the Ring, Pacquiao appeared on set and said, "I wouldn't fight in an exhibition. It's either a real fight or nothing." According to multiple sources, sides for Mayweather and Pacquiao remain engaged in negotiations to finalize the event as a real fight. Sources said the venue will now shift to either MGM Grand Garden Arena or T-Mobile Arena in Vegas.
Floyd needs for this thing to happen, man. He's in the hole with so many people. They say he's already taken cash advances out on the money against his fight purse.
You would have thought if he did, it would have been to pay his back taxes to get the IRS off his back, but apparently not. Floyd Mayweather is 49, while Manny Pacquiao is 47. Mayweather's planned exhibition with Mike Tyson also remains in question. On September 4th, Mayweather announced he would meet the former heavyweight champion, but no date or location was revealed. That was last year. The announced promoter of Mayweather vs. Tyson, CSI Sports, was contracted to stage the event by April 30th of this year, per multiple sources. The Tyson camp discussed the Democratic Republic of the Congo as the leading site option, among other locations, sources said. An extension to May 30th was agreed to hold the event, per sources, but holding it outside the U.S. would also become problematic, given the passport issue. Mark Taffet, head of CSI Global Live Events, didn't respond to a text message. From Ring Magazine, seeking comment on the status of the exhibition with Tyson, Mayweather owes upwards of $7.25 million between tax liens and levies to the IRS, per the documents reviewed. Among the ways Mayweather can prevent the passport revocation, he can either pay the debt in full, reach an installment agreement, or settle with the Department of Justice. Establish his tax debt isn't collectible because of financial hardship or the result of being a victim of identity theft. File for bankruptcy. Multiple attempts made by the Ring to reach Mayweather or an official representative for comment were unsuccessful.
So what if Floyd's explanation for not paying the IRS their money is because Al Heyman was in charge of it at the time? And if Al Heyman fucked it off without Floyd's knowing?
That is why he's so behind, though I think that it would take many months to constitute that that's what actually happened, and it seems like this lawsuit he's got against Showtime and Stefan Espinoza, it hasn't really gotten anywhere.
Probably won't for months.
If that's what he's leaning on to get him out of this jam, in effect being grounded by the IRS because he'd be a flight risk. Owing them that much money, he could theoretically seek refuge in Dubai.
To skip out on the debt.
I mean, that's what Daniel Kinahan did for years. Evading authorities in both Ireland and Spain, he sought refuge in Dubai, and it worked for a long time before they finally decided to extradite him. Floyd Mayweather might do the same thing in Dubai or some other foreign country to skip out of this debt.
So they've grounded him. They're revoking his passport. He's not allowed to leave until the matter is settled.
All the more reason that Floyd Mayweather needs to go through with this Manny Pacquiao rematch, even if it requires him to put his O on the line, his unbeaten record at age 49. At this point, it's the only thing of value you have. In what is this underreported story, I don't think it's being talked about enough in the boxing spaces. Outside of it, it seems to be getting attention that Floyd is broke.
I even saw Vlad TV talking about it.
But of course, Vlad TV deals more in pop culture and various subjects, not exclusive to sports. It's sort of odd that people in the boxing space shy away from this conversation. It could be because so many in the boxing space had a parasocial relationship with Floyd, treating his successes as their own.
Living vicariously through him for a number of years on the street corners and in the barber shops and the boxing spaces, the boxing groups, almost counting his money for him.
Doing so is a point of pride, though I don't think they're at all proud right now that it was all a lie. Floyd's business acumen, him being a mogul, that was all a sham.
Had a parasocial relationship with this guy when he was on the up and up, but now that he's down and out, they don't want to touch him. They don't want to touch him with a 10-foot pole, and they don't want to talk about it. Because as much as you treated his successes like they were your own, what about his failures?
They only love you when you're winning.
That was Floyd's whole thing, wasn't it? I mean, he didn't pride himself on being a man of the people. He prided himself on being an unbeaten fighter and having a bunch of money. Now, he's out of the money.
How long can he stay unbeaten?
When it rains, it pours, doesn't it? That's how the old saying goes.